Hi Alfonso, nice to see you've written us new essays. Let's get right into them. Before we do, however, I wanted to respond to your email. Go ahead and go over the 250 words, go over the 260 words. Okay. One of the reasons why that limit exists is so you don't start going off topic and start writing irrelevant relevant things in your essay, essentially. But I mean, within reason, you can go over it, okay? So let's take a look at what you did here with these chips. The bar chart, it's a one bar chart, shows the number of sales per month by chip manufacturers, there are two chip manufacturers, S, Intel and AMD, throughout 2017 in France. In January, AMD sales were almost, not 40%, they were almost 40% lower than Intel sales, whereas in February, AMD sales reached its highest peak, being 33%. I would have said, okay, fine. In March, AMD sales dropped and stayed constant. What does that mean, they dropped and stayed constant? For how long? So that doesn't really make sense, does it? While Intel sales strongly fluctuated before peaking, ING, at 160,000 sales in June. AMD, okay, this is strange. You should have had a full stop here. AMD reached its lowest point at 0 sales. In July, AMD sales went up and tripled those of Intel, I guess you could have said. AMD sales halved in August before going up and maintained its sales at the same level throughout September and October at 90,000 and 85,000 respectively. Intel sales peaked, reaching two of its highest levels S in November, December, whereas AMD sales fell suddenly at 10 times less than Intel sales. Okay. I keep doing that today. Let me try it again. Okay, overall, it is clear that there has been a fluctuation in the number of sales, even though there was a fluctuation. It's all in 2017, so there's no reason to use present perfect. So there was a fluctuation of the number of sales, even though Intel achieved a higher number of sales than its competitor AMD in 2017. Okay, that part's fine. What I wanted to talk to you about was a couple of things. Well, first of all, I didn't really care for your usage of percentages here because there's really no need for it. The percentages sometimes tell us very little. Okay, so you're telling me here, for example, in January, AMD sales were almost 40% lower than Intel sales. Okay, well, I have no idea where either of those sales are, though. So, and that could mean so many things, all right? So, for example, I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? So, this is not really helpful. It doesn't, in other words, if I wanted to draw this chart, I couldn't even imagine. All I know is the difference they have between them, but I can't, I mean, for all I know, their numbers could be all the way up here, and just AMD is 40% lower. So that's not really helpful. I want to just let you know that when you're doing a task 1, I want you to try to describe it as if the person reading your answer does not have the chart or the diagram in front of him. Okay, so you should give enough information and describe it in such a way that the person can at least create a rough sketch of what you're looking at. All right, and so you can see now with this, especially in the beginning of your description when you haven't given me any data at all, this is not really helpful. I have no frame of reference for what 40% and 33% are. Okay? This made no sense to me. Dropped and stayed constant. They fluctuated before peaking at 160,000. That was helpful. And that was helpful here with the 0 and the 160,000. That's fine. Then you said they went up and tripled Intel's, but I have no idea what that means because I don't know where Intel sales are. So, because you never told me that Intel really dropped, which it did. I mean, it was a huge decline from its previous sales. So a lot of the information you gave me, I can see that you're trying to experiment with some of the language, but a lot of what you did wasn't really helpful in actually making this clear to your reader. The next time you do a task 1, I'd like you to try to do it like that. Imagine that you're describing it to someone who does not have the graph in front of them. Okay, and maybe the way you express some of these will be a little different this time. Okay, let's take a look at your task 2. Okay, this is one about local food. Let's see what you said. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether eating only food locally produced is better to the environment and economy or not. Some people believe, I don't know what that means on the first extent. Personally, I disagree. Okay, some people believe this. You want to have some sort of contrast here. However, personally, I disagree. It would be better here. This essay will argue that eating food from other regions benefits the economy, using examples from the UK government and Oxford University to demonstrate points and prove arguments. On the one hand, there's ample evidence, there's just ample evidence of the consequences transporting food has, not only on the local economy, but also on the environment. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, consuming food coming from different regions affects the inhabitants, without the two, of those areas by causing an increase in prices and possibly the loss of jobs. All right, why? Explain to me. Why? So why do prices increase? Why do prices increase, and why do jobs get lost? Secondly, all the pollution the process causes has a negative effect on the environment, contributing to global warming without the, and climate change. For example, recent empirical research, singular, by the UK government demonstrated that air pollution produced by means of transport, no S, of food had increased by 67% in the past 10 years. It must not be forgotten that although scientists are working to develop a non-contaminant fuel, most of the pollution is because of those. I wouldn't even have written that. I would have just gotten rid of this. That's not really, it doesn't really help support your point at all. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that the fact of transporting food, and not even the fact of, it is conclusively clear that transporting food has a negative effect in the long term for both, the environment and local economies. Okay, that works. Although there is a case for local, responsible, and pollution-free food consume. All right, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what you're trying to say here. Let me try it again. Although there is a case for local, responsible, and pollution-free food consumption, the impact, I don't know what you mean here, the impact of the food industry cannot be overstated. I'm not really sure. I don't know what you're trying to say, but let's see if I can figure it out. This is largely because it benefits the food industry. All right, you lost me here with your grammar. Let's see what you wrote. You said this is largely because the benefits food industry as by boosting economies and creating millions of job opportunities. I don't know how to fix this. I think you basically just need a verb. So this is largely because the food industry is beneficial by boosting economies and creating millions of job opportunities. Maybe something like that. It still sounds a little strange. For example, an extensive study by Oxford University showed that employment within the food industry in Europe doubled since 1985. Consistent with this line of thinking. Consistent with this line of thinking is that the 10 richest countries base their wealth between a quarter to a third in food exports. On food exports. Thus, it's possible to state beyond doubt that all the benefits overtake drawbacks. Okay, here's the thing. You haven't really convinced me. Let me explain to you why. Firstly, why can't the food industry focus on local food? Why should we assume that when you talk about the food industry, you're talking about transporting food, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of miles? So that's a little confusing to me. You never really extended it. I mean, maybe if you had extended it a little more, then it would be helpful. Because also, I'm going to show you something else here. Check this out. This paragraph is considerably smaller than this one. So it looks like you've got like about 7 lines here, and here you've got 3, 6, 9, 10. So it's a decent amount bigger than this is. You could have extended this more. Okay? So I didn't understand the logic. I felt like this was, number one, underdeveloped, and I didn't understand what you were trying to say, like with the food industry. And, you know, again, I'm going to say it as I did before. Okay, the food industry exists, great, but why can't it just focus on local production and local transport? So that's what I didn't really understand. Let me see what else I want to tell you about this. Give me 1 second. So you disagree. You don't think that's better for the environment and the economy. Let's see. What about the environment? It's the other thing you didn't really talk about here. So you talked solely about the economy, but you were also supposed to talk about the environment because supposedly you didn't agree with that either. Right? Look. Just to remind you. Better for the environment and the economy. Okay? But you told me that you disagree. So what you have to prove to me is that no, it would not be better for the environment. And you did not cover that at all here. Okay? Maybe you mentioned it here, but as I said to you before, it absolutely did not belong there. It was off topic. It didn't help support the progression of your paragraph, so I would have taken it out of there, and you absolutely had to say something about pollution here. Okay, so let's move on. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that although pollution is a handicap that should be solved, okay, the role of the food industry has a considerably greater impact. It is predicted that when companies become aware of the importance of preserving the environment, the industry will have a much more positive effect on the economy and environment. Okay, I'm not really crazy about environment, but fine. Maybe could have thrown the word nature in there. All right, so it's fine. There's some good elements here, but again, like I said, there were some problems specifically in this paragraph, and don't forget to extend your answers a little more. All right, and then of course, there was a couple of I think there was one sentence here that. There was a couple things here that I thought you should have gotten rid of. All right, go ahead and correct these essays, return them back corrected. Let's see more work from you. Keep in mind what I said about extending and also about the word count. Okay, good luck, and let's meet back here with your next essays. Good luck.